That. Oh,
Hold up. One more. All right. Bug the shit out of me. She just got a haircut, and everybody that's like seen her before her haircut has been telling us like how chonky she is, and Morgan's like, she's not chonky. It's like we're gonna get her a haircut, and we're gonna show everybody. And she, she got groomed, and the groomer's like, it looks like she's put on some weight.
oh no.
Yeah, I'm sorry, honey. Yeah, you're getting a little thick, huh? Yeah, so okay, one more. Look at you at the new desk and geode.
Yeah. Yeah. People say he's a little chunky too, which I mean, he's like, I'm not chunky.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it beats being like, hi, buddy. It beats him being like 65 pounds when I first got him. So, he doesn't eat that much, and he eats twice as much as Minnie does. But I think they eat a lot. Right now, they're eating a lot of mice outside because
okay.
it's like season. I have holes all over my property. Like I just have giant potholes. I'll have to take a picture. Um, and I think they're just eating a lot of those, and those are like pretty fatty. And
Uh,
so I think I don't know, which I don't know if that's good for them or not, but I think it's fine.
it's protein. I mean, there's got to be some protein in mice, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
good. It's good for them. I'm not
yeah.
sure about the fiber part, but
Hmm.
who knows?
Yeah, you like the new setup? I figured it'd be good for the pod.
It looks good, dude. Yeah, I mean, I just got my random wall
Right.
behind me. Well, I guess there's some cows over here, but
Yeah.
and just not my idea. Morgan just got a bunch of cow paintings, and next thing I know, there's a cow rug. There's cow
I'm
wall
not
hangings.
surprised.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's ridiculous.
surprised.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah. I think eventually I'm gonna get like an actual like boom mic like on my desk and then like an actual camera. Just for like not just for this, but also just as like sometimes I do like video consults and stuff, and I don't know, just for content stuff, but
Yeah.
save up for that a little bit and just kind of have like a actual like setup. So
Yeah, that'd be smart. I honestly need to get a new laptop because every time I do this Zoom call, it just looks like shit.
yeah, yeah, it looks fine on my end, but I'm sure like in the recording it doesn't look as good.
It looks so blurry. It's not even funny.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. All right. So
mustache is looking good.
yours is looking good too, dude. I'm glad. I'm glad you're sticking with it. There's lots
Yeah,
of glory in having a fine mustache.
yeah. I don't know if I'll ever let mine get that long, but I mean, like, and you mentioned it today in your story, like mine, I have wax in it right now, but it's starting to just go this way
Hmm.
now, like in the morning, and it's like, oh, that's kind of fun. I went to training grounds today, and Taylor goes, "Wow, that's very what'd she say?" She was like, "That's very prominent today." I was like, thanks. I was like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I got mixed reviews on it.
Huh. It's gonna take a second. People are gonna hate it. You're gonna get pretty mixed bag right off the start. But what
Yeah,
once it really gets there, people really like it, and it becomes a really good talking point.
yeah, exactly. I've been told it adds character to my face, not like the 6'5", 270 pound bodybuilder needs more
How
character.
much character do we want to put on this large man?
Yeah, right. Like all I need now is like, well, I got like the half shell motorcycle helmet. I'm going for a whole like rebrand, apparently. Right. Like I got the half shell, I got the sunglasses, I got this. Like it's just a lot going on right now. So yeah, a mixed bag for sure.
The more you stay consistent with like waxing it and twirling it, the easier it's gonna be for you to like keep it there. Because like at this point, like there's nothing even in this. It's just there now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just hang in there. It'll be
Yeah.
pretty and stay pretty.
Yeah, it's interesting too because like you have a thick mustache, like you just got like a lot of space in here. I have a little bit thinner of one, which is why I started like doing this because I was like, hey, the hairs are just getting in my mouth now, but when I trim it, it looks thin because my beard is thicker. So I was like, hey, I need to keep it out of my mouth. Let me just start pulling the Alex here, and I actually kind of like it. So
There you go.
yeah, and I think it'll eventually. I don't like I said, not that maybe not that long, but who knows? I might just get it out here and just start going up with it, you know.
Well, after a year in, then you'll decide.
Yeah, yeah, year end. Yeah, with my beard too. Let that keep going.
Dude, you, me, and Nick just let it all go, man.
Bro, Nick's beard is insane.
Yeah,
It,
it's pretty thick.
it's
It's
awesome.
it's getting a little rough to the point because there's like this space right here and it's just starting to come out this way.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. It's a good thing
It's
he's strong.
yeah, right. Like muscles cover for anything. You can basically do whatever you want if you have muscles. You can just kind of do like any sort of thing you want as long as you have muscles because you can just kind of pass, you know?
Yeah, and then it just turns into, oh, it's that muscle guy with the X. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. It's funny too, because Nick, I started growing my beard right after the show last year, so August. So this is like, 10, 11 months old. He started growing his beard like what, 3, 4 months ago. And it's
Yeah,
already
something
like
like that.
it's already like crazy.
DHTs, baby.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the DHDs are causing this to fill in for me for sure in the last like 6 weeks. It's like, oh boy, like I actually have like it's starting to come up a little bit.
Becoming a man before our eyes.
That's right. Yeah, that's what. Well, like I told you, that's why I got the half shell helmet because in the summer now with the full face, it's like it presses into this, and I put like the beard oil and the softener, and then I start to sweat, and I can like
Mhm.
feel it coming down my neck, and I also put lotion on my dome, and so it's like I start to sweat, and it's just like it feels so disgusting in my helmet, and it's just like this is awful, and I'm sitting at a stoplight, and the V twin on the Harley is like super hot in between my legs. The sun's baking on my black helmet, and I'm just like dripping sweat.
Mhm.
Plus, also gear sweat, as you know, is a little bit different than normal sweat, and it just feels like oil and gross. And I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. Do you notice that when you're on more stuff, that your gear or that your sweat is different? Mine is like super like I can feel it in my fingers.
Oh, really?
It's like it's a little bit more like oily, and I sweat more too.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Honestly, no, my sweating is pretty consistent. It's really weird. I
yeah.
I would think I would sweat way more, but no. It probably doesn't. I should probably no, because I drink plenty of water. Like I keep coming back to this. Is like I don't drink enough water. I'm like, no, I drink 3 to 4 liters of water, not even counting any of the other shit I drink a day. That
Yeah,
should be fine for someone that just sits in their house all day. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So I don't know. I don't know why that is.
yeah. This is the first summer that I've like pushed weight up high in a few years now. And it's like, oh, this is why I don't like doing this. Like, I feel like very gross. Like, I don't sweat a ton, but right now I'm like, okay, just like walking outside, I feel like gross and sticky. And that's why I started wearing like really baggy shirts because I'm like, I just don't want to feel disgusting.
Most people like to cut for the summer, Scott. Instead,
Yeah.
we're over here trying to get as big as possible.
Yeah, that's right. Because I don't do this to look good at the beach. I do this to look good for men on the internet.
It's the beaches of Bellingham too, right?
Oh yeah, the great beaches of Bellingham.
Yeah. Well, should we talk about intensity?
Should.
Should,
Intensity is the name of the game, baby. Baby.
baby, lightweight. Okay. So last time we talked quite a bit about bro science and whatever the hell that looked like.
Mhm.
This time we wanted to talk a little bit more about like training intensity because there's still that always ongoing debate about how hard do you actually need to train? Should you train hard? Should you just do kind of train hard and just do a lot of it, or should you just do the least amount of training and go balls to the wall as you can? You know what I mean? Or is there some sort of middle ground? I don't know. Let's find out.
Mhm.
How do you define training intensity and what is the most what and is it the most important factor in muscle growth? Wow, I butchered that.
Okay, you're doing a great job, sweetie. Um, I think that it depends, right? And of course, any of these questions you can say that. That's kind of a lazy answer, but training intensity, I think, is the number one thing people should focus on, besides like form. But even like I find with clients, it's a lot easier to pull someone back if they're too intense
Hmm.
than bring someone forward. So like if I have someone they send me a video and it's like, oh, you had like 10 more reps in you. And then they send me a video the next week and it's like, yeah, you still had 10 more reps in you. Versus someone sends me a video and their form starts going off and they're like shaking. It's like, okay, let's peel it back just a little bit. And then the next week they're pretty much spot on. So I think it kind of depends. I think it's the most important thing, but also it's the most important thing to do, but also sometimes it could be too much if you don't have anything else in place. But I would rather have someone be too intense than not intense enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think for those that don't know what training intensity is, basically we're talking about how quote unquote far to take a set. And a lot of times people will talk about reps in reserve. So like one RIR, meaning one rep in reserve or one away from true failure, correct? So leaving one in the tank. And so when we're trying to talk about like training intensity and stuff, it's typically how Scott and I would train would be taking a set to what we would consider as far as we can go, and that's essentially um that last rep that we do is so slow that no matter how much force we exert into said set, that thing is barely moving that last rep and then trying to do it again, it's not possible. Failure.
Yeah.
Taking intensity, right? So, and then what is it the most important factor in muscle growth? I definitely think it's one of the most important factors. I think a lot of people bastardize it in a way that or they start getting too nitpicky with the RIRs. At least that's how I think about it. I feel like it's just a lot easier to say, okay, with this one variable, let's make it one speed, you know what I mean? And that's all the way so that way you can really start mucking around with like sets, volume, rep ranges, all that when this one thing is consistent. You know what I mean? And take that as far as you can. Um, Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. In terms of like clients and stuff with like intensity, what I have found that has worked the most, just because I work with a lot of lifestyle people, is because yeah, I've had that same sort of shit. It's like, no, dude, you got like 4 or 5 more in the tank. And so what I found is we can go back down the rabbit hole of how many reps do you need in a set that are effective, right? Like all four reps to failure is all you need. And really what I have found effective, especially for like lifestyle clients and doing like a full body and people that just aren't trained very well, is that if you actually pull them back and try and get them to go to failure at like 4 to 7 reps, something that's heavy, you for them, right? Realistically, it's not probably going to be heavy for like anybody else, you know what I mean, or for us.
Yeah.
I found that actually works really well because then they're just that it kind of takes the counting out of it too because um you get into those higher rep schemes like 8, 10, 12, it starts burning and then they think that's what it is, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And in regards to that, with like the muscle burning and everything, I think a lot of people don't understand the difference between failure and that burning pain, right? Like something might start burning for me at rep 8, but I can
yeah.
get to 15. And that's not, it's hard to teach someone that. You almost have to learn. You
Hmm.
almost have to teach your body, like, yeah, this is painful, but you're not gonna die, right? Like this is how we grow, this is how we change, this is how we adapt. And yeah, it burns right now, but you can still keep going. And that's why I think it's important to film your lifts, like for a non like ego or non, even if you weren't even going to post on social media or whatever, just to see, because you can remember like, okay, this really started to burn at rep 5, but I could get all the way to 10 to 12. Or wow, this started burning at 5 and I stopped at 7. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, I could have gotten way more, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing to try to explain to lifestyle people. And not all lifestyle people need to go train balls to the wall, right? But just a little bit harder is just what most people need. But explain that to lifestyle people of like, oh, you have more in the tank is really important. An analogy I like to use for like what you just talked about, like those reps being super slow. You know those TikToks with like the hydraulic press where they put something underneath the hydraulic press and it squeezes it like really slow
Oh,
and
yeah,
it
yeah,
presses.
yeah.
I explain it like that, right? Like, or anyone that's used like a hydraulic press before, right? It's moving so slow, but eventually it is going to crush whatever it is, they'll put like a stack of CDs or whatever, and it just goes slowly and it hits that, and then it just goes like, and just keeps going. That's how like a last set should feel when you're like here and you're like, oh, I can't move it, and it should move like an inch. And obviously within safety reasons, right? Like we don't want to be
Uh,
doing a barbell squat and moving it like that, or even like a deadlift. Maybe a deadlift safer because like you can just drop it. Um, but like not doing that if you don't have a spotter on like something, or at least like a Smith machine where you can rack it. But
yeah.
yeah, so I think intensity is important, but also like teaching it is kind of hard unless you're in person.
Yeah, it's super hard to teach, man. That
Yeah,
again, for not that all bodybuilders know how to do it either. Like there's definitely some fucking pansies out there that
yeah,
don't train very hard either. But yeah, it's definitely a hard thing to teach for sure.
yeah. And also, like our style of training, once again, isn't for everyone. Like, and this is a very big outlier, but like, look at like Dexter or Phil, right? Like, they were working hard, right? But they weren't doing the traditional like training to failure thing. But
Yep.
they kind of made up for it with a little bit of volume. But I don't think like me and you, I don't think our joints could hold up to that. Like, I just know that like if I'm doing like 30, 40 sets, I could, but they could, right? Like, so intensity can be through many different ways. But I think the easiest and probably most effective across the board for people is that like lower rep, uh, like not lower reps, excuse me, lower volume, more intense training as opposed to like the higher volume type of stuff, you
Yeah.
know?
I always think about some days, not just because you're talking about like the joint stuff. I wonder, knowing what we know now, for like, I think we've definitely gotten a lot better at like the whole my muscle connection. So I would say
Yeah.
over time, like as much as we have gotten stronger, like some of our lifts have actually, in quote, kind of gotten weaker in a
Oh
way.
yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like I wonder some days, now that we know that like scaling it back a little bit, and what if we scaled it back even more? How could we actually get away with doing some of this higher volume stuff? But
Yeah.
like, now we're benching 135 and we can actually feel our chest doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's funny that you say that, right? Because me and you come from a football slash strength background. I
Mhm.
used to be way stronger, right? I on a lot of things. Like I'm across the board. I'm stronger, meaning like in machines or different things. But I used to be able to squat crazy amounts or deadlift crazy amounts. And now it's like just with that mind muscle connection, like I actually know what muscles are working. I'm not using my ass to deadlift 600 pounds, right? I'm not using my ass to squat up a certain amount of weight, right? And so that's where I think it's tough, where it's like, yes, weight matters. We don't want to be using the pink dumbbell, as Joe Bennett says, but we also don't need to be super crazy strongman, right? I think that's what's
Yeah.
super impressive about like watching like Ronnie train or Branch Warren, especially. That's another example. People are like, oh, his form is terrible or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. But you can actually see the muscle moving,
Hmm.
right? Like when he's wearing those tank tops and that old Metroflex, we're kind of going on a tangent here, but he's doing those rows and they look like insane. And it's like if you told a 13 or let's say 16-year-old kid to do that, they wouldn't feel their lat at all. But Branch Warren is, because he's learned what that feels like, and we're kind of, me and you through Nick's help, I think, are learning how to scale back and actually feel the muscle, because Nick has such a great eye for being able to see what you're actually using.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely. Which then, even thinking about that some more and diving into Nick, the dude will just bench press 4.5 plates on the Smith, and I can guarantee you he feels that all in his chest.
yep,
This
yep,
is fucking ridiculous. It's unfair.
yep. Yeah, and imagine like, if me, you, Nick, or whoever decided to switch to like a powerlifting mindset where I don't really care what I'm feeling, you're exponentially stronger, right? But that doesn't necessarily transfer to bodybuilding, right? Like once again,
Stronger.
yeah, stronger, right? Like you technically are stronger, but are you actually hitting what you need to hit for bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Which once again comes to intensity, right? Like if I have a client that's just throwing weights around, like I had a client today and I was watching him. He's throwing weights around. I was like, dude, you're just kind of throwing that like a gorilla. And he's newer, so I was joking with him, but like you're just throwing that around like a gorilla, right? And just like actually get into it. And like you don't need to be moving lateral raises super fast. Just feel it out, squeeze it, let it down. Actually know what that feels like, and then start scaling up the weight.
Let's continue on this off tangent because
Okay.
that actually gives me another good question. How much do you think that actually, so for someone that's like not doesn't really understand how to connect with stuff, right? How much do you think that makes that big of a difference, like right off the bat, like trying to get someone to really understand that mind muscle connection versus like, okay, with kind of like stair stepping process is kind of how I've thought about it. It's like, okay, we're gonna start. I just want you to learn how to train intensely, right? And take a set to failure and make the set somewhat look pretty clean. And then we do
Yeah,
that for a period of time, you know what I mean? And get stronger from that. And then
yeah,
they're gonna plateau at some point, right?
yeah,
No matter what they do. And then it's like, okay, now let's scale it back to actually like understanding how to connect with stuff now. Maybe now we take that rep range up a little bit and we're focusing a little bit more on the stretchy squeezy side of things. So have you seen something like that as well, or is that kind of something where it's like, no, right off the bat, I want you to figure out where the fuck your lat is. You know what I mean?
I think it's a good mix, right? Like it depends if someone's like brand new to lifting, I will
Hmm.
definitely just have them just like, hey, just train. Try to feel it as best you can, but just kind of train as hard as you can, right?
Yeah.
But if someone is like, I'll use Taylor for an example. When she started working with me, she had lifted before, right? And yeah, I was focusing on getting her strong, but actually getting her to feel muscles was important, right? So kind of meeting a person where she's at, right, or where they're at is going to be really important for that. And then using myself as an example, like I've trained for a long time and I knew how to train, but my hernia surgery and then starting Nick at the same time forced me to scale back and actually learn how to use my muscle correctly. And so I think that's what's caused me to grow so much in this past 10 months with him is
Mm,
because I was able to use that training intensity that I picked up for years of just watching, James Hollingshed or Branch Warren and these guys just lift heavy. And then because the hernia surgery, I had to scale back and then I had Nick watching over everything. He was like,
right.
okay, I can see when you're doing a chest press, your chest isn't moving, but now like I can move it, right? And so I guess long answer to short question depends on where someone's at, right? Yeah,
Like it.
yeah,
Like it.
yeah. Meet people where they're at, right? Like if it's a
Yeah.
brand new, like I've got a newer client, she's worked with me for a couple months. She's like an 18-year-old female, just getting out of high school, just learning how to train. There's certain things where she sends me, I'm like, okay, fix this, this, and this, but like I'm really just looking for intensity. And I'll see her at the gym and I'm like, hey, like I think you got a little bit more. I think you got a little bit more. And she's like trying to kind of learn, like you said, that stair stepping process is like, okay, I felt like that was enough. And then I come over, I'm like, hey, in a nice way, hey, you have more in your tank, right? And then
Hmm.
eventually it's like, okay, we're seeing muscle growth, but now we got to kind of work on putting the pieces together.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like it. What are some of the biggest misconceptions about going hard in the gym? I would say you don't need to fucking grunt on rep one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one. I think, and I use this analogy a lot. Working hard and being effective are not the same thing,
Right.
right? You can go out to your car right now and press on the gas as hard as you can and press on the brake as hard as you can. That car is going to be working so hard to the point where it's probably going to break. Was that effective? Absolutely not, right? And so you got to be able to be effective with your training. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the sense of, hi, buddy, in the sense of like being able to train hard is kind of the base of everything. And then that's for getting a coach or just like watching yourself and then being more effective is better. Just so you don't get hurt, you're actually being able to recover, all that type of stuff.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I want to talk about grunting again, and
Okay.
just because you're training hard, I think there's this big misconception that if you are training hard, you need to be making a shit ton of noise.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to my clients about that. They're like, "Oh, I just feel uncomfortable." I'm like, "Well, you should look uncomfortable in the set if you're training intensely. I
Yeah.
know you watch my stuff on Instagram. I don't need you to scream in the middle of the gym like Nick and I do sometimes, or Scott. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just what happens sometimes when you're in it. I just want you to again get to that piston analogy, right? Is slowly get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's funny. I used to probably grunt more because I used to lift with a lot of anger. I'll look at them in the background. Hey, bye guys.
Get out of here.
Yeah, yeah. Geode's like, don't be. No, now he's playing with her ear and fighting. They play so hard. Anyway, I used to lift with a lot more anger and emotion for
Mhm.
sure. And then the past couple years, I've kind of figured out that doesn't serve me. And I still have my days where I do, but it used to be like 90% of sessions I would be just fucking angry about
Mhm.
stuff. But now since working with Nick, he gave me kind of we're just kind of doing a Nick uh commercial here. But since working with Nick, he gave me an analogy once, I think for deadlifts. He's like, I think you got a little too hyped up for this deadlift. And that's good, right? That's a good thing. But he's like, that caused you to lift weight out of form. Like I was just because I was so like into it, I was just pulling it. And he was like, just go into it almost like a robot sometimes. And that's you can still grunt and stuff, but like this is your job. You're grunting because you have so much force that you're putting down that it has to come out somewhere. You're not grunting out of emotion and anger. Does that make sense? Kind of the difference there.
Yeah, no, that is a great analogy. Again, sponsored by Team Gloff training library. Use code
Yeah.
Heifer. Make us smart.
Yeah, but that was one of the I carry that a lot, and I'm still working on how to do that on certain things. You can obviously do it easier on a bicep curl. Like you can go in and be like, "Hey, here's my number I have to hit. Let me get in. I'm a robot, and I'm doing this motion. I'm doing a 3 second negative pause. I'm squeezing up, right? A
Mhm.
deadlift, I feel like you have to have some emotion to do it. You got to find that balance, right? You're not going to load up five, six, seven plates like Nick is doing, right? And go into it with zero motion. You have to have a little bit of an edge, but you don't want to have so much of a motion where you just start throwing weights around. Like I'm sure you see it raw all the time, or I see it TG all the time, where it's like, yeah, that person's going in, but now they're just kind of throwing weight around, right? And if they're a powerlifter, fine, fuck it, go ahead, I don't care. But like bodybuilding, not so much.
Right. You think there's a difference between training intensely and training intelligently?
Yeah, that's a really good. Not to get in like I know last week we just shit on the science people, like, but
Yes.
there is a point of training intelligently, right? Like once again, you can look at like I think a lot of people use Branch Warren as an example of like, oh, he just trains like a meathead. It's like, no, Branch Warren trains really fucking smart. Like if you're watching him, that muscle is moving completely. Like same with Ronnie, right? I think Ronnie gets a bad rap just because kind of how he talks and stuff. That dude trained fairly smart. Like sometimes he did some dumb things like that squatting 800 pounds for two, right? He trained for him, he trained smart, right? But
Yeah.
he also worked up to that point. I think a lot of times people get stuck in like, oh, I want to lift like Ronnie, so I'm going to lift like that from day one or, year two when I'm in it. It's like, no, Ronnie took a while to get to that point. So I think he can train hard and not be effective. Once again, that car analogy of pressing the gas and the brake at the same time. But I also think you can train hard and intelligently to know like, can I get one more rep? Sure, but am I going to hurt myself? Probably, right? And just finding that balance to where like I'm bitching out getting one more rep, or no, I'm actually being smart so I can hit it cleaner next week.
Where do you think where how do you think we find that point between um where we should take it to like that intensity level, right? Versus just kind of like what we were talking about yesterday is like where do you find the balance? Knock it off between like um God damn it. Nessie threw my brain off.
The balance between like bitching out and training hard
Yes.
enough.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Honestly, I think you have to kind of learn it on your own. Like one of my favorite, once again, not to keep talking about Nick, but one of my favorite things about Nick that I saw before you even knew him, before he coached me, his last prep when he squatted like 800 pounds or something at 4 weeks out, and that made him pull out of the show because his CNS got fucked, right, or something like that.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, he learned, like, he learned not to do that, right? But sometimes the only way you're gonna know is like just kind of doing it.
Yeah.
Akeem Williams was talking about on a podcast, the Bro Chat, a couple of weeks ago, about how the first day he lifted, he was squatting and he just was putting plates on the side until it got hard, and he was squatting like 500 pounds, and he didn't. It just wasn't hard for him, and everyone in the gym was like, "What the fuck?" And he never lifted before, but he was just putting weight on. And what I'm getting at is like, there's just some people that can just do stuff like that, or like what Nick did, or whatever. But those people have a point too where you'll find it. And I think everyone's a little bit different than that. But I think everyone's point is a little bit farther than they think.
Hmm.
Um, and so, honestly, maybe not in Nick's case where you're doing it in a prep, but overreaching sometimes I think could be a good thing because then you're like, oh, nope, that was too far, right? And
Yep.
hopefully you don't get hurt. I'm not saying push it so far where you get hurt, but sometimes where you're like, ooh, that was a little bit too far. I feel like shit. My lifts tomorrow suck. Like I can't do the same lifts a week later. Like then that's where you can kind of scale back or tell your coach that, hey, this happened. And then you kind of know. But then eventually, maybe in 6, 8 months, you can try to do that again and see if you can actually hit it. And all drugs aside and supplements aside too, like that plays a role. But yeah, I kind of went on a tangent there. But there's a there you'll learn it yourself when you're not being a bitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you remember that one gal a while ago? God, it was like 2 years ago, like when I first got started coaching. That she was from my high school. It was like, if you don't feel like you're making much progress in the gym, why don't you just test out your one rep max? You remember
Dude, that popped up on my Facebook memories from like 2 years ago. I was reading that and I was like, oh, I remember this. I almost sent that to you. That's right. Yeah, that's stupid.
that?
Don't do that. That's dumb.
Uh, yeah, I don't know why that made me think of that, but that's kind of exactly what it is. It's like, just
Yeah.
fuck it, overreach, dude. See where it's at, but don't do it in a stupid way, right?
Don't like maybe do something that you can do for 8 reps, not 1 rep.
Yeah,
Like 8 reps is it can still be heavy, but it's gonna be safer than a 1 rep.
yeah. Or it's like, hey, maybe let's try a rest pause today.
Yeah.
Nope, can't poop tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, and well, especially for you. I mean, you can talk about this more, but like your body gives you really good feedback on that. Like you want to talk about
Yeah,
that a
it
little bit,
sucks.
like what
It,
it's like
it really
mentally.
does suck.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's because of like the spine stuff that I dealt with in college or what, and like trying like loading my spine top down or like deadlifts the same way, but like what I've noticed if I do more than like one heavy compound, one set of a heavy compound like a stiff leg or a squat, if I do 2 sets of that, I will be trashed for the next week. I will put
yeah,
on 10 pounds almost overnight, and I will not be shitting for the next several days.
yeah,
That is your CNS. That is your body telling you, hey man, not cool. Don't do that.
yeah,
Can't recover from that. And so that's kind of like one of those points of like, okay, try things, push your, maintain that's kind of why I like the same, like telling people to just maintain that same level of intensity or quote, like speed, so that there's no like variability within that, so that when you do add that like extra variable of like an a little bit more volume, you can see that exact reaction to what your body's having. You know what I mean?
yeah. I wonder, I never put this together, but you just mentioned the spine stuff. I wonder because I'm reading that book called The Body That Keeps the Score or Body That Keeps the Score. It's about trauma, and a
Hmm.
lot of they talk about a lot of like trauma victims have damaged vagus nerves or vagal nerves. I forget what it is, but that
Right.
nerve that goes
Yeah.
from like top that it literally touches every organ in your body. I wonder if your spinal stuff like that got damaged in that time, and so maybe when that gets overstimulated, that's why your digestion gets so fucked up because it's just like it's signaling. I mean, that just made me think of
It
that. I don't
could
know.
be, dude. Like
Yeah,
it's a great question because like let's just even go back to this last leg day we just did. And okay, I did my normal one set of stiff legs. Cool, whatever. I'm a pansy. Fine. I don't care. But it's like we we've worked up to the point that we can do like 2 sets of a banded leg press and I'm fine the next day. But it's
yeah,
like, okay, I had that quad issue that one day, so then I tried making up for it, doing like 4 sets of like the prime like horizontal leg press, like one of those pin loaded ones. So it's like, okay, well if I can't take my CNS today, I might as well at least try and make my quads do more work somehow, right? So it's like doing
mhm,
4 sets of that, or and then doing like 3 sets an intensifier of a quad extension, which I don't normally do. I typically always stay at like that 2 set mark and definitely not typically over that 3 set or going to intensifiers and stuff. And even doing that, I've noticed doing it that day, I noticed that my soreness, I was definitely more sore than I typically am. Not that I'm not sore, but like
yeah,
my CNS was still actually fine from that day. So it's interesting how that sort of stuff plays out, and like trying to understand what exercise is going to do what, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting too. Like you just said, you add in like one variable at a time. That's something that I think is really important for me as a coach or you as a coach. Or Nick does this really well. I'll give him my feedback. And one of the questions he asks in the check-in form is like, what feels like it needs more work? What feels like it doesn't? Another one is like, do you feel like your muscles are recovering within 48 hours, right? And let's
Hmm.
say I'm like, I feel like chest could do a little bit more work and it's recovering within 48 hours. He will add literally a set, just one set. And then he's like, all right, we'll see the adjustment. And then the next week, I'm like, oh, okay. Now that muscle is taking more than 48 hours to recover. And then by week two, it's solid, right? And so I've kind of learned like it's almost like a cup. Like that was great timing you picked up your cup. It's almost like a cup we're filling up. Eventually
Hmm.
it's going to overflow. But if we fill up slowly, we'll be able to tell when it overflows, where it's like, oh yeah, we added a second set of stiff, or let's not say deadlifts for you, but like we added a second set of leg press and I'm okay. Okay, let's see if we can add one more. Nope, I'm not okay. I can't poop. So like it's that's the one that's the your cup is overflowing now, right? So
Yeah.
I think figuring that out and small changes over time. I think this is what my whole like coaching philosophy has helped me with or changed this year. One change at a time is okay. You're not going to run out of time. We're doing this forever. We don't need to do everything at once, right? I think I learned that with prep. So because when I was prepping myself, I was like, okay, I'm gonna add this drug in, see what that does. Okay, I can see what that does, especially when you're that lean. You can see that. Or I'm going to take this set out, see what that does. And you can see a market difference, right? Little changes over time are going to be so much better than a bunch of changes at once.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so you're just kind of muddying the waters at that point. It's like throwing a bunch of shit at the wall, seeing what
Yeah.
sticks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And sometimes like in a peak week or something like that, that's different. But like in an off season setting, it's
Yeah.
like we have like for me another year or whatever. Let's just add one set of chest. And then in 2 weeks, if it's still okay, let's add another one instead of adding two. And then that sets you back for 3 sessions because you can't handle it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just society as a whole, right? Like we just want to, okay, if we can do all of these things and it can potentially do this thing now, like let's all do these things right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's add sets everywhere, you know? It's like let's try and grow everywhere. We might as well. I'm recovering fine,
Hmm. Hmm.
but capitalism. No, just
That's
kidding.
right. That's right.
What role does failure play in effective training? Should every set go to failure?
I
It
think within
depends.
reason, it depends. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the answer always, right? It depends. I think that if you're recovering from an injury, obviously no. Let's say you just have a specific injury, like a quad, for example, like you, maybe don't go to failure on that today, but everything else can be fine. Um, I think if you can, this is where like the pyramid of like food, water, recovery, all that stuff plays a role. If you can take every set to failure, then fuck it, do it. Like once again, what we just kind of talked about, see if you can handle it, right? If you can take 10 sets to failure, try in a couple weeks doing 11 and then 12 and then 13 and then wherever you're handling it, right? As long as you're taking it to true failure, because sometimes people think they're and they're not.
Hmm.
But honestly, like I think there does play a role in sets that aren't to failure. Obviously, like a warm up set or like a primer set, if you will, right?
Warm
Um,
up sets to failure.
yeah, right. Like, um, I don't. I guess that's kind of a tangent. I guess I'll go there. How do you and Nick kind of set up like for a warm up? Like, obviously, it's different at the beginning and the end of the session, but like, let's say you're doing a seated hamstring curl to start your workout. Like, how do you guys like? How many sets do you guys usually do to non-failure? I guess that kind of relates to what we're talking about.
I guess it kind of the warm ups are like warm up sets. I would like actual
Warm
warm
up
up.
sets.
Okay.
Well,
So I was gonna say like warm up routine. Bro,
no,
we
warm
ain't
up
we ain't got
sets.
one. No,
I,
we
I
hop
did a whole
right
video on that yesterday. What the hell?
in.
Everyone's
We
different.
go
I know.
right into the first thing and just start doing feeder sets, dude.
Yeah. So okay, I guess yeah, feeder sets. That's the word to think about it. What like how do you guys kind of work your feeder sets on?
Yeah, so feeder sets for us typically what has seemed to be working. for me at least, Nick, I don't know how makes like one jump, two jumps, and just calls it good, especially for
He's
the
a
amount
freak.
of load that he does. It's crazy, but typically how I've liked to do it is do something relatively light, like call it maybe just like 10, 15 reps, really trying to squeeze stuff and find it.
Yeah.
Something super light, just trying to get some range of motion in there. Typically, I'll shoot for 2 to 3 to 4 feeders to start out, because especially since we don't do like an actual like warm up routine, I feel like the best way for me has been just to like do the movement and then just get more actual movement within all the joints, before you actually start the set.
Yeah.
So I would typically start with something really light, let's say like 15 reps, and then make a jump down to, doesn't necessarily need to be 6 reps, but I'll do typically like feeders of 6 to maybe another feeder of 1, just to feel out with something right before
Mhm.
a top set, and then go into a top set. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it also kind of depends like what the movement is. So like doing something on like the Cybex hack, even if we did like the single leg press beforehand, I will still just take it one plate at a time, all the way up to 5 or 6. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I think about it in some ways like extra volume, or in other ways that I think people could think about it too, is that it's just extra practice for one the actual set you're about to do, but two, again, with the whole mind muscle thing, that's been something I've been trying to put a big focal point on me, is not necessarily trying to make a bit. I've gotten really fucking strong since I've been down here, but I would be lying if I said a good amount of movements over the year. I haven't felt like super great or really even that good of a pump from. So really what has turned into progression for me is making sure I keep all of my loads relatively where they're at. But a good progression from that is, okay, I feel my chest better this week on incline, and even
Yeah.
better, even better, even better. I'm getting more of a pump, more of a pump, more of a pump, that sort of stuff. So I guess kind of off tangent there, but it kind of depends on the exercise. So like flies at the beginning for us, like we'll do like three, 4 feelers. You do something else, like let's something later in the workout, you probably only need like one feeler, or fuck, sometimes we just jump right into it. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I what you touched on there is like the extra volume part of it, right? Like
mhm.
I think to answer the question that we started with, like, do all sets need to be taken to failure? Obviously, warm-up sets, no. But like I treat my warm-up sets basically like you do. The first couple I'll do like 10 reps, but I'm feeling a burn in there, right? It's that burn that we talked about at the beginning of this podcast where like maybe most clients or newer people will be like, okay, that's failure. It's like, no, I know I could probably do if I was sticking at this weight, I could probably do 10 to 15 more, right?
Right.
But I feel that burn. So then when I jump up, I do like maybe 5 reps on like a leg extension, right? And then so there's blood on my legs, and then I will add in, yeah, I'll do the 5 reps on a leg extension. That's almost to get my CNS kind of going. And then I'm like, okay, then I might do a 1 rep like right below my weight, and then I'll go into it. But
Mhm.
then later in the workout, like today, my last exercise is seated hamstring curls. I'm warm. I know what my number is that I usually do. It's in my logbook. I just get right into it. I don't care. So yeah, that's we kind of basically do it the same way. So I was just kind of curious, and then in regards to answering the question, like obviously feeder sets do not go to failure,
Right.
but those can count in a workout. I don't think they're ineffective. Do they help with muscle growth? I'm sure they do. If every set was like that, would we be as big as we are and strong as we are? No. But
Right.
I think they definitely, like, if we didn't do them, I don't think it would, I think there'd be a negative impact if you didn't do them,
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. I guess it's always going to come down to the definition of what do you mean by, is it effective for muscle growth? You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
go down the rabbit hole. Is it per se more effective, like a feeder, whatever the hell you want to call them, versus like that's true set, like true top set to failure, where you added 10 pounds from last week? Not
Yeah.
it. I think it's effective in two different ways, right? It's like one was the actual progression side of things, versus like the other one was getting you primed for that set, but two, again, like the practice of like connecting and getting yourself warm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
I personally think what is dumb that a lot of people do, I shouldn't say dumb, but I think it's dumb, is let's say they are training to failure and they do like a full failure set. And it actually looks really good. And then they do a back off and then that's half-assed. Like that one's not the
Yeah.
failure. I think that's dumb. It's like what like your body is already primed and ready to go. Like just take that back off set to full failure. You're already there. Just do it. I think that's really dumb. I can't say
Mhm.
it. Just that's something that bugs me when people are like, okay, I'm going to take my back off set and make it like no, like yeah, make it lighter, but don't take it less intense. That's just kind of dumb. I don't know. That's like a weird kind of niche pet peeve of mine that I see people do.
I was gonna say the same thing, man. Just keep all the variables the same, or at least the intensity variable the same. I just feel like
Yeah.
that makes more sense in my head. So you know
Yep.
what the fuck's going on with it.
Yep. Exactly.
With that being said, how would you balance volume, frequency, and intensity for optimal muscle growth?
I hate that word optimal.
That's I know.
It's person dependent, man.
Yep,
Like
it really is.
me, like
Kind of,
yeah, I can handle more volume than you can, probably, just based on how your body reacts, right? And someone can probably handle more volume than I can, right? I
hmm
can't even handle that much volume, right? But just based on knowing what you go through, right? Like everyone's body is different. And that's where having a coach or being really in tune with your body is going to be the most important thing
yeah.
and figure out what works good for you. And once again, kind of like what we talked about earlier, scaling up slowly, right? If you're just getting into it, start at 10 reps or 10 sets to failure and just sit there for a little bit, learn how to train to failure, and then add one set, and then add another set, and then add another set. And then you'll find what is the most optimal for you.
hmm
So,
Absolutely. Um, yeah, I mean that being said, it's always going to be person dependent. I would say for the most part would I we could maybe make some generalizations, you know what I mean? For like
mhm.
frequency maybe and like
Yeah,
volume, you know what I mean? Like Joe Blow that's never really worked out before, it's probably not the strongest thing in the world. We could probably put him on a full body, you know,
yeah,
three times a week, 3.5 times a week if you want to count the math like that. And
mhm.
1 to 2 sets of a body part like every other day, they'll probably do just fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Versus like Brett Wilkin, if he were to do that, he would probably die. He needs to fucking go hard with that one body part because he's just strong as shit. He
yeah,
needs to fucking massacre that on one day and then not touch it again for another week, you know?
yeah. Yeah,
All
well,
person dependent.
that's that whole JP thing, right? Like JP has a whole video series of like, hey, beginner, intermediate, advanced. If you're a beginner, try doing a full body thing. And one of my clients, Harrison, he's a great kid. When he first came to me, he was like 16 or 17. I was kind of really into that JP stuff, and I was like, and he didn't have the money for me to coach him. That I coach him now, but he was like just kind of asking for general advice. And I sent him that video. I was like, just try full body. Like I've never had anyone do it. I've never seen someone do it. But you're 16 years old, literally just try it. And he did it. Like he did it for like a year. And that dude got so fucking strong. He is for his build and everything. And he learned how to train hard because when you're only training 3 days a week, 4 days a week, full body, and you only have 1 or 2 sets per body part or whatever it is, you
Uh-huh.
want to get the most out of it, right? You
Yeah.
don't think that okay, I'm doing 20 sets of chest, I'll get it eventually. You're like, no, I have one set of chest press. I better make it as hard as I possibly can. And he grew, and also too, now that I'm coaching him, his core, his like chest, his back, his legs are just like dense. And now we have to work on the refinements of like, hey, shoulders need to be bigger, arms need to be bigger, hamstrings need to be bigger. And so I think that like once again, it's person dependent, right? Could me and you do that full like once again, you said like Brett, if Nick did that full body every other day, he'd be dead. Like he'd be dead. He wouldn't be able to grow. And also, once again, this is all an experiment. If you're doing something for 6 months and you take pictures and you look the same, maybe try something fucking else or get a coach or whatever, right? Like it's if you're doing something and oh, this I'm going to go on a rant. Oh, the study says I should be doing this, this, and this. Well, you're your own study right now. Are you growing? Are you changing? No. Okay, then try something else. Stop doing the same shit just because it's someone else said it's optimal. So I'm kind of mad about that question.
That's all right. We'll move on. It's no more optimal.
A little tentative for me, but you get what I'm saying? Like it's not what is optimal for me is not optimal for you. And I've had to figure that out on my own. And now I have Nick to kind of fine tune that, right? or you
Mhm.
have Matt and Nick, or we've had multiple coaches where like I had Blue, you had that one coach doing German volume training. That we didn't like that. I didn't like the high volume that Blue did. Blue, it does great. It wasn't for me. The German volume training wasn't for you. You could say that's optimal, but it's whatever's for you, whatever you like.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I'm never doing GVT ever again.
come on, just for funsies.
It's bro, oh my God. That was rough. Like 1 week of that, like it was fine, but then like my CNS, now that I understand like what that means, oh my God. It was awful. It wasn't even like a true German volume training. It was like a mix of like that and like a pyramid
Yeah.
also. So you would do like your first set for like 10, and then you do a second set at 8, and then a third set at
Oh,
uh
oh,
like
gross.
6. No, or maybe it
Yeah.
was like 15 to start. But anyway, like you got all the way up to 6, and then you would go backwards back down, trying to hit all of those for failure. I'm like, there's no way people are doing this. There's just
Mhm.
no way. You know what I
Well,
mean?
there are some, like Roman Fritz does like 2 days a week training, 7 days a week.
I just,
There's just some people that can do that.
bro, I just don't understand how, man.
They're more mentally strong than us, better
You're
than
right.
us. Yeah.
You're right. Uh, is there an ideal rep range for maximizing intensity?
Uh, I mean, between 6 and 20. So that's a big range. Like if you honestly, if you do more than 20 reps, you're probably like your intensity is just not going to be there. You're going to get bored. I don't know. Like, and
Yeah.
then if your reps are lower than that, I feel like the load is too much for you to like fully focus sometimes in a bodybuilding sense, not in a powerlifting sense.
I was going to say, well, that's great because how does intensity change when training for hypertrophy versus strength versus endurance is the next question. So to lead
Oh,
right into that.
yeah, way
It's
different,
that
right?
same
Like,
exact thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's what we kind of talked about earlier, right? Like powerlifting, right? Like when you watch a powerlifter lift, there is obviously there's everyone's different, but there's a level of focus and everything. But if you're going for a 1 rep max, you're just taking like it's almost like a superpower. You're just taking in all the energy and putting it into that one thing versus like the intensity of a 12 rep hack squat. That's really intense and that's a lot on your system. But
Mhm.
you have to kind of pace yourself, but that's the wrong way to say it. You kind of have to drip feed that intensity through it. Like what you
Yeah.
said earlier, you can't be grunting on the first rep, right? Like that's a bad example, but like you gotta be able to kind of drip feed it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, strength. I guess it kind of depends if we really want to go to the rabbit hole for like intensity and like strength training. Like again, there's the whole RAR shit, you know what I mean, or
Mhm.
RPE, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Um, I would say I want most people not even to think about that stuff when it
yeah,
comes to like muscle or
yeah,
hypertrophy, you know what I mean? Because well, we could talk about like, well, this set it was only like 7 RPE. This is like it was pretty tough, but not that tough. That like, what does that even mean for like a bicep curl? You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's
Only the
like,
only
what?
time I've used the only time I've used RIR or RPE is when I was recovering from my hernia surgery. That was like the only time where it's like, okay, because my body's giving me clear signals. It's like, don't push anymore. Like even there were sometimes on
Mhm.
bicep curls where I was like, like my muscle can get more, but my core is so weak right now that I'm not. I'm done. Right. And that was the only time where I was like, Nick would program in there for me, like, yeah, keep this at like 3 RIR or 8 RPE for a little bit for a couple weeks, right? Just
Uh-huh.
because I didn't want to fucking burst anything in my stomach, right? But I heard a quote once about like, there's a study that's like, there's no difference between training all the way to failure and 2 reps in reserve or whatever it is, right? It's like, okay, well, if there's no difference, why don't you just train to what you think is failure? Because you still might have two more. Like, let's say me and you were training together.
Uh-huh.
And usually on my own, I could get 8 reps at whatever weight. But then the next week, I train with you and I can get 11 reps, right? Just because
Hmm.
there's that little bit more. I'm with you, I'm training with someone, right? Okay, well, just train as hard as you can because you don't know what true 2 reps in reserve is. Because
Exactly.
your body can kind of protect itself in a lot of ways.
Yeah, 100%. Um, I hate the RPE thing, man. I just
Yeah,
hate I just hate talking about it.
yeah.
It means like again, like Renaissance periodization dudes, I
Mhm.
guess do all right. I mean, Walker certainly looks pretty good. So, but I mean, if you want to even talk about that, it's like, okay, but did he do that to get to that point? You know what I mean?
Yeah. James
No.
Hollenshed talks about that a lot. Like James Hollenshed does a lot more like of that RPE type of stuff now, and he doesn't do as many squats or deads or anything because they're at a refining stage, right? Like Nick Walker is at a refining stage. He doesn't need to gain the size anymore, right? And I
Mhm.
think that's where a lot of these like bigger guys like will sometimes talk about their training and do like the RPE type of stuff. But it's like, yeah, that's not what got you there though.
Right.
What got you there was the hard, intense training, right? But then I think that's hard because we see what they are now. We being like, let's say, like a younger generation, like we see where they are now. It's like, okay, I'm just going to do what they're doing now to get there. It's like, no, like you wouldn't look at an F1 driver and just be like, okay, I'm just going to start doing, the fancy controls on the steering wheel and everything. It's like, no, you just learn how to drive first. My brain works in analogies. That just kind of came out of my ass. So I hope that made sense.
You big Forza Horizon guy?
I used to be back in the day.
Okay.
I had the whole steering wheel and everything.
That's oh shit. Yeah, I'm more of a
Yeah.
Mario Kart guy myself, but
The Switch came out today. My colleague and friend Morgan just got the new Switch with Mario Kart.
is
The new
it is
Mario
it
Kart.
worth it? Do you have any idea?
I don't play video games, so I don't know. My client Matthew has been obsessed with the Switch for like 2 months. He pre-ordered it and everything, and so he's been telling me all about it. But it's like $500. It's the price of a legit console now.
I
Like
know,
Switch,
dude, but it's
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. Like Nintendo used to be like, oh, like it's a couple $100 for the Wii, and you get to play fun games with your friends. Now it's like it's Xbox, it's PlayStation, it's Switch. Like it's a legit console now,
Did
which
you
I think is
see did
ridiculous.
you see fucking Mario Kart's like $80?
Yeah, it's dumb. This is why I don't play video games anymore,
Bro,
and I don't have time. But it's just stupid.
we were growing up, dude. Like DS games were like $35.
Yeah, because like Nintendo was. How did we get here? Nintendo was like the kids' console, but now
Yeah.
I saw the study. The highest consumer, or the biggest consumer of toys in America are men from the ages of 25 to 35. And Switch, like Nintendo and stuff, falls into that. And so that's why it's so fucking expensive, is because they know their market is not kids and families anymore. It's grown men who have jobs with 401ks that are like, I need a Switch.
That might be one of the best statistics I've heard in a long time.
It's
I-
wild.
all I can see is like the dudes with the ponytails with like all the My Little Pony
My little
freaks.
pony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
exactly those. But I say
Yeah.
that as I desperately want to switch myself, but I'm gonna wait for him to go on sale, so it's different.
I say that as a man who has a china cabinet full of Star Wars figurines. So I mean, I'm talking shit about myself here,
Uh,
but I think there's like those are all my old Star Wars toys. I'm not buying new ones.
mhm.
But once again, I like Star Wars shit, and I want to get like a real lightsaber. And so I don't know, but that's a real lightsaber thing, obviously. Anyway,
How the fuck did we get there from rep ranges? That's impressive.
yeah, I know. Can you still hear me? One of my headphones just died.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Um, Sorry, that the statistic just really threw me off.
that's a good
What
one.
what studies are you reading in your spare time?
It was. I'm optimal. Okay, I'm just that optimal. No, it
Oh,
popped up on my Instagram, so it's probably fake. Or that might have been on a Modern Wisdom podcast. I don't know. I might just be saying fake shit. It sounded cool, and I tell it to clients all the time. So just gotta
I,
say it with
I
confidence.
mean, 70% of statistics are fake anyway, so
That's right. Is that a statistic?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Perfect.
How is your hernia stuff doing anyway?
It's good.
All good?
Yeah,
Still,
it's all good.
still money?
Yeah. Once in a while, like especially in the past couple weeks or about a month since I started my push, um, the because my waist has gotten thicker just because the more food. Like it's not like a permanent
Yeah.
thickness. I can just tell there's just more shit in there, like literal like shit in there. It was kind of I could feel it stretching a couple weeks ago, like during like my presses and stuff, where I was like trying to arch my back, and I was like, ooh, I can like kind of feel where the mesh is. But other than that, it's been perfectly fine, and my bracing feels finally back to normal. Like my deadlifts the past couple months, I can actually hold a brace without it like just quitting.
Nice.
And so yeah, it healed really quick. It was just more the matter of like getting used to having that in my body, you know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, I
Yeah.
was just curious, dude, because
Yeah.
you got it, and then like I feel like you just had like those couple weeks off, and then it's just been magic.
I literally had 2 days off. And then because my doctor told me, uh, I was like, hey, how long should I stop training for? He's like, get in when you can. He's like, that's going to actually heal you. He's like, you're still going to be pooping, sneezing, and coughing. All three of those things you're not ready for, except for pooping, hopefully. You're not ready to do. And you're putting a lot of inner abdominal pressure. With lifting, he's like, you've lifted for a long time. Just if it hurts, don't do it. And he's like, maybe don't like do heavy squats for like a month or two, or don't do like I didn't deadlift for like 3 months afterwards. But like
Mhm.
luckily I had Nick, like and Nick kind of understood, and we just slowly once again added stuff and added intensity. And the BPC 157 and the TB 500, that Wolverine stack that Zach gave me, I think that healed stuff like that. Like I was pretty much back to 100%, besides like the weird bracing stuff for a little bit, but like no
Mhm.
pain within 6 weeks.
Have you noticed that it like has affected any of like your ab training at all, or like vacuums or anything?
My vacuums are fine. I don't do any direct ab training. I never have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nick doesn't give you any?
He gives me vacuums, but that's it.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
So I don't know.
That's good
Yeah.
for you. All right.
So
Hell yeah.
I've always had like decent abs. I like them to be thicker, but at the end of the day, I think that's not a part of because I vacuum on everything anyway. At the end of the day, I don't think that's like a real big strong point. Whatever I'm doing is doing fine. And I'll be really curious to see how it looks once I lean down, like
Sure.
how with the hernia mesh and everything. Hi, sweet girl. Hey,
What?
yeah, say hi.
Minnie?
See, look at her nose. She's been looking mice.
Buddy,
Hi. Yeah. Hi, sweet girl.
as long as she's having fun,
Yeah. Oh, is she gonna give me a hug? She might give me a hug here. Wait. Want to give me a hug?
she just smiled.
No. Oh, sometimes she'll like lay her head on my chest and it's really cute.
Oh, buddy. You
Yeah.
think you'll
Yeah.
get a third dog?
No, fuck no.
It's two's enough for you.
I was thinking about doing some fostering, um, like like 3 4 week type of fostering stuff. But I think I would be okay with the attachment. I just worry about them. Like I would hate them to get attached and then like not like be like, why do we keep losing friends? So
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it though, because I've got the space to do it. And the humane society here is super full.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, you already got the gym shop. Why not just open up your own shelter right next door now?
Totally should. Next to the chicken coop.
Next,
Hi,
it's
sweet girl.
surely nothing will go wrong with that.
No, absolutely not. Hi, sweet girl.
Uh,
Do you want
well,
to do one or are we good?
I mean, some of these questions are all right. Are there effective ways to train intensely while minimizing injury risk? I
Yeah,
mean,
don't be dumb.
yeah, don't be done. If it hurts,
Yeah,
don't do it. But
yeah,
also, like, properly warm up to that top set where you are going to train intensely. And then, it's with a lot of my clients, I like to make sure that we are using a lot of the tempo work. And then whether that's going to be more optimal for hypertrophy or whatnot, I like to just use it in terms of like again the practicing of like actually actively feeling the muscles and
yeah,
getting them to lengthen and contract, and then also it's going to be safer if you're trying to lower something most likely under like 3 seconds versus like
Yeah.
dive bombing and trying to bounce it off your sternum, and next thing you know, your sternum caves in, and
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the tempo is a really big deal because then you won't be able to load it as much.
yeah,
And then two, something I tell clients all the time is controlling every change of direction to whatever it is, right? Like even if it's a split second on your chest, split second at the top, like we don't need to be like holding 1, 2, 3, that like just stopping the momentum. Because I think momentum is where a lot of people get fucked up because like their elbow starts to flare out and they are doing a press and they do that and they don't realize it and it's getting bigger and bigger and then it pops their, their whatever out, like their pec or whatever. Or like a squat, they don't realize that they're going up on their toes, but they're just going so fast, and then all of a sudden they pop their knee or whatever, right?
right,
Um, and then like don't confuse weight with intensity. Like
yeah,
just because you're lifting 1 billion pounds doesn't mean you're training intensely,
yeah.
and just because you're lifting 5 pounds doesn't mean you're training intensely either, right? There's a good mix, and not conflating the two, I think, is really important.
Hmm. Absolutely. Um, yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of times that you're absolutely right. Controlling those like end ranges and that momentum with that. I think Nick calls it owning the end ranges.
Yep. Yep.
That best way to sort of think about it. And I think it's funny when I get a lot of clients that just don't want to do it. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Well, it hurts.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's one gonna make you bigger if you actually stick in those points that are hard.
Yeah.
And then two, if you don't want to pop something off the bone, then you might want to try it,
Yeah.
especially if you want to get stronger. You know what I mean? It's probably good to practice now.
Yeah. And that's really going to hurt if you pop something off the bone. Like, yeah, it
Yeah.
burns more, but it's going to hurt if you pop something off the bone, right?
Yeah.
I think
Hmm.
where I've gotten in trouble is like trying to get one more rep and then I speed through a rep. Like that's where I think I kind of popped my adductor when I was doing single legs really heavy. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, my logbook says 13. I'm gonna go for 14. And I kind of sped through that. Like I know I kind of did. And it like I probably shouldn't have to get that extra rep. And so yeah, that's I think owning those end ranges and staying disciplined with that is super important. One for injury prevention.
No, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, my headphone just died. So
Attaboy.
anyway, like owning those end ranges are damn it, damn it, headphones. I can't even blame Julia for that one. Owning those end ranges is just a good way to help muscle growth and just help with injury and also intensity too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
What's the best way to track and progress training intensity? Are there tools or strategies that work best?
I would say logbook, but logbook doesn't tell the whole picture.
Yeah.
Logbook mixed with videos, I think is important. So you can look back at videos and be like, okay, cool. I got 8, like Nick does this for me. Like, okay, cool. I got 8 reps on this deadlift today. And he's like, yeah, but those 2 extra, this is the one where I was a little bit emotional with that set. He's like, yeah, but those last 2 reps, you kind of sacrificed for him to get them. So was that more intense? Eh. Did I hit the logbook and progress? Yes, but did I truly progress? No. But now I've allowed that weight to marinate, kind of using your technique where I kind of hit a weight and I just kind of sit there and let it feel better. And that
Yeah.
seems to work really well for me. So it's not necessarily something we can track, but it's something that's pretty good.
That's the whole thing with the progressive overload thing. It's obviously we want to progressive overload. That's not a bad thing. We want to get stronger over time, but I think these people have become just so again bastardized with this idea that we just need to continually add shit week to week to week versus
Yeah.
like if you still continue to train hard and let's say your reps don't change over 2 3 weeks, but you still train hard, then take stuff as far as you can. Is necessarily nothing happening within
Yeah.
that you're doing? I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah.
I think shit's still gonna happen.
Yeah, I think in the long term, if you're not progressing for like 6 sessions in a row, then it's probably best to change something. But
Okay.
you don't need to be adding like the Jordan Peterson thing, which he's perfectly fine. He's doing a great job. But like where he's adding like the 0.25s on the leg press, it's like, like I don't know. But clearly it's working for him. So I'm not one to say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to pull those back out. I might have to start doing that.
The
The
0.25s.
0.25s.
Yeah.
Freaking freaking Nick. Well, he'll just slap a 25 pound on the next day. Just like
Yeah.
I want to try it.
Yeah.
Six
Yeah. There's
reps.
just some people that can do that, right? Like, oh, I'm going to throw 2.5 on, and then you can only get 8 reps when you got 12 with the more. And that's like, I'm going to progress to the 25. It's like, no, like, Fuad talks about that with Luke Sandow. It's like, yeah, most people progress with like 2.5s or fives. Luke Sandow progressed with 25s. There's just some people that just do that.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah.
Yeah,
Working
I
out
know.
with
I
Nick
train
is
with one.
fun, guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Working out with Nick is fun, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And until it's not, and you got to start spotting him on 4.5, 5 plate bench presses out of nowhere. Make sure my
Yeah.
oblique doesn't just rip off, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm sure Ben's pretty close, you know.
Yeah, I trained with Ben a little bit. When I was in prep, I just kind of found I like training on my own. I've had a couple consistent training partners, like my buddy Nate, who I'm going to see here in actually about 20 minutes or so. Me and him trained together for like 3 years or like 2 years, and that was the best. He was like 19, I was like 22, like just like trying shit, and that's when I was like really obsessed with Hunter Labrada. So I just like follow his workouts. And that's when I was squatting like 550 pounds for 8, just doing stupid shit. And that's when I got up to like 290 with Justin when he was having me eat like 30, 40, 50 grams of olive oil a day. Do you
I
remember that?
remember that.
Yeah. And I was just so big and just fat and just gross, but I was so strong. And so I like training partners, but I find with Nick's style workouts, like his plan, it's pretty specific to me. And it's kind of like other people get in the way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I feel like it's hard sometimes to like bring someone else externally into the workout program
Yeah.
sometimes because it's not that it's hard. Well, it's hard to train like that, but it's like sometimes people's lift styles are so much different
Yeah.
than kind of like how Gloff has programmed for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's hard to teach people sometimes, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to
Like if
have
I
people
feel
hop
like if I
into a
came and
session.
visited you again, like I could hop into like one of your guys' sessions and be fine. But let's say I got so lucky to go train with Phil Heath, that type of workout would probably murder me. Like a third, like a 30 rep or 30 set workout, I'd probably die. Same thing
Yep.
if he went into like a Glock workout, he would probably break shit. It just your body gets so conditioned and used to what it's good at, and switching back and forth can be kind of hard sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all basically what happened when I started training with Brett for that 1 week last year.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah,
Gained 20 pounds in a week. Sure,
yeah,
it's all muscle, bro.
yeah. All muscle, no
Zero
problem. No,
inflammation.
yeah, no inflammation, no just shit piling up, nothing. It's just all good.
Yeah. What uh
But
what are you getting for a free meal this week? Are you gonna eat anything? You just
no, I don't want to eat anything at all. I had my first free meal on Sunday with Taylor. We went to Soy House and I got like chicken and rice curry, like coconut curry. It was super good. But I asked for double chicken and double rice because I'm a fat ass. And I just put it all in the bowl together and like mix it up and ate it. And the waitress, you know how the waitress would come over like halfway through and be like, "How you guys doing?" She came over and did that. And then like 5 minutes later, she came back and my food was done. And she was like, "I'm impressed." And I was like, "Thanks." And in my head, I'm like, this is why I have a binge eating problem because I get positive feedback from like family or a waitress, like, "Wow, that's a good job." And it's like, if I was 450 pounds, they would not tell me good job. They'd be like, "Okay."
You
But
need
because
help,
I have
buddy.
muscle, they're like, "Oh, well, that's impressive. Good job." It's like, no, this is not. But the problem is because I'm eating so much right now, my stomach's stretched out. I felt like I could eat more. And I was like, that's a bad idea. And so right now with free meals, like I have them a couple times a month because I'm eating 5,200 calories and just so much food. I'm like, I don't want to eat anything else. I'm good. Like I just I'm kind of okay.
It's funny you say that because we started going to this one sushi place here. It's called Bangkok Bay. We went with one of our friends one time, and this I think it was before I actually started like dieting, quote unquote, if you want to
Yeah.
call them doing dieting. But this is I got 10 sushi rolls, and she looked at me like I killed her son or something.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anybody do it like this before, but they brought it out on like an actual boat
Yeah.
versus like every other place I've gone to. It's just like they'll just bring me like a plate or two at a time. But
Yeah.
brought it out on this boat, and I sadly couldn't finish like the last roll, and she was
Yeah.
so disappointed in me.
That's so funny.
So disappointed in me to the point that like ever since then, like she'll bring it up to random customers. So the one other time Morgan went into like we ordered some takeout from there one time.
Yeah.
She didn't recognize Morgan and she brought up the story about this one big jacked dude with a mustache. Like he went and got like 10 sushi rolls and was like
Yeah.
bragging to Morgan about it. And she's like, "Yeah, that's my husband." She's like, "What? What do you
That's
mean?"
so funny.
So I'm like a well-known name in the sushi industry down here.
That's so funny. Bodybuilders keep the sushi industry going, man. We truly do.
No, I've been trying to tone back on it because like dropping 100+ bucks on sushi every weekend kind of
Stupid.
starts stacking up.
Yeah. The
So,
best sushi for your buck is going to like Safeway or like Publix might have sushi down there.
oh yeah.
And you have to get it fresh like in the morning, but like you can get a fuck ton for like 10, 15 bucks.
hmm Did you
Like
know
I do that with
Sam's Club
Safeway
has
pages.
sushi?
Say that again.
Sam's Club has sushi.
I don't know if I trust that.
Neither do I. I'm just saying they got platters of them, but
Yeah. I mean, if it was like imitation crab, I could see that, but like anything else, I'd be like, I'm okay.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not trying it anytime soon, but I can't imagine it's any worse than Billings sushi. So,
Yeah, I remember when I lived in Arizona, because like living in Washington, you kind of know seafood. And I remember going to a Red Lobster in Tucson and I ordered salmon
all those
and
fucking lobsters.
it was like not pink. It was like borderline brown color. And I was like, this isn't salmon. I took a bite and I was like, I'm not eating this. And I like it was just one, it was Red Lobster, and two, it's in Arizona. Like it's not fresh. I'm sorry. There's no way it's fresh.
Anytime I think of like a Red Lobster in like one of those landlocked states like that, every
Yeah.
time I've walked into one, I just immediately look at the lobster tank, and the lobsters just look fucking depressed.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
where I'm at right now. They're gonna
Yeah.
fucking kill me here. It's in
Yeah.
the middle of
Yeah.
Tucson.
Yeah.
Fucking take me out, dude.
Yeah. Just kill me now. But
Uh,
well, I'm about to pee my pants and I'm seeing my mom and my buddy Nate, so I gotta run. But we'll do this again soon, sweetie.
yes, we will. I know Tony's been trying to get back on, so just
Yeah,
FYI.
I just talked to one of my buddies, Saya, from Utah. Um, he said he'd want to come on, so we'll
Yeah,
see how
all
that
right.
goes. So sweet.
All right, buddy.
Okay,
Talk to
bye.
you in a bit. Goodbye.
Bye.